afternoon. This is the regular City Council meeting for December 13th, 2022. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Yes, Councilmember Alejandra Gutierrez, not present. Councilmember Sneddon.
Here.
Councilmember Friedman.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Harmon.
Here.
Councilmember Oscar Gutierrez.
Present.
Councilmember Jordan.
Here.
And Mayor Russ.
Here. And Madam Administrator, are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes, Mayor Rouse, but I believe you had an announcement.
Okay. And we would like to announce that today, in closed session, we voted unanimously with all members present, except for Alejandro Gutierrez, to permanently appoint Ms. Sarah Connect as our city attorney. So congratulations, Ms. Connect.
Gosh.
And would you like to say a few words, please?
That's overwhelming. Mr. Mayor and council members, thank you so much for this opportunity to serve you and this community, which I so cherish. And I am so grateful for your trust, which I will work every day my hardest to earn. And I am so grateful to the smart and dedicated and hardworking lawyers and staff of the city attorney's office, without whose support I would not be here today. So thank you.
Thank you very much. And I will say from our standpoint, we're really grateful for the work you performed as an acting city attorney. And I think we're all very grateful that you've accepted with enthusiasm this position. We're all looking forward to working with you. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members, again.
Okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy, back to business. Here we go. We'll go to public comment, and then we have one speaker for general public comment for items that are not on the agenda, but within the purview of this body. I have Brad Smith.
Oh, wow. I didn't expect to be the only person today. And,
You have 3 minutes, please, Mr. Smith.
sure. And I'm sorry I'm going to rain on the city attorney's parade. Mayor Rouse, council members, you've got a problem here relating to affordable housing and homelessness, basically the law of inverse consequences, where things go the opposite of what you're looking for. A misinterpretation of your 3-month relocation assistance ordinance is going to have the opposite effect. It's going to make affordable housing worse, and it's going to increase homelessness. I'm going to show you how. The only affordable housing for thousands, I'm sure, of Santa Barbarans is rooms, shared housing, okay? This seems to have been overlooked. Many people in Santa Barbara cannot even afford a studio or a one-bedroom apartment. Typically, the way it works is one person rents the place and the other people rent from that person, unless it happens to be owner-occupied. The person that is the main renter is called the master tenant. So this is a common occurrence. I wish Megan Harmon was here because she's a real estate person, I understand. What the city attorney's office is doing is, with master tenants, they're pinning it on the master tenant instead of the landlord, okay? And here's going to be the effects of that, okay? Anybody that has to become a master tenant to afford to live here is a low-income person, generally, okay? They can't afford this, okay? They didn't get into that for that, okay? So basically, this ordinance is entrapping master tenants. The way this is being misinterpreted from the legal advice that I have, it is happening to more than one person, financially ruining renters, okay? And it's, the way it's being interpreted, it's impossible to get out of a master rental, the way it's being done. I'm not going to try to explain it all today, I only have 3 minutes. Once this becomes known, nobody's going to become a master tenant. People aren't going to be able to rent out rooms, et cetera. So you're going to have an increase in homelessness because there's not going to be rooms. They're the most affordable thing out there, okay? All because of this really cruel misinterpretation of the law, okay? So I'd like to ask a few questions before I close. You don't have to answer them here, but I would welcome answers because I think we should know what the intentions of the council were, whether you answer them today or not. Did you intend the 3-month relocation to be paid by tenants instead of owners? Okay. Did you intend to financially ruin low-income renters? How do you intend for master tenants to be able to get out when they have to move? Okay. And how are renters supposed to know about this? Hardly any renters that I know about this. You're almost done?
You're pretty much done, Mr. Smith, so just
Okay.
wrap up, please.
Yeah, who would have guessed this? There's a few things I'd like to ask for. Can I say 3 points I'd like to ask for?
No, actually, if we can't really engage back and
Yeah,
forth
no, I
with
don't.
questions and whatnot, so.
No, not ask for today. Just make my final points. Can I make my?
But make them quick.
Here's what I'd like to ask you to do. Immediately call off the city attorney from going after tenants instead of owners, okay? And make a resolution clarifying that this is for owners, not for tenants, okay? And that it's not intended to entrap, criminally prosecute, and ruin renters. And then define how is a master tenant supposed to get out of a tenancy.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
Mr.
it.
Smith. All right, very good. And, all right, very good. Are there any public commenters online, Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, we have one public commenter, Aaron Ashland.
All right, you can go ahead.
Go ahead, Aaron Ashland.
Thank you. Happy holidays. I wanted to call and wish you all and our amazing residents happy holidays. I would like to again personally thank the city council members who had the vision to help all the downtown businesses and close State Street. You threw us a lifeline and that can't be understated. So thank you again. To celebrate a great 2022, I want to invite you all down for a glass of mulled wine to celebrate the holidays on my patio. Oops, I only have 4 top on my patio because my patio is only 10 feet wide. Maybe we can meet at the public market. I believe they have a 12 top on their nice spacious patio. Man, patios sure seem to be more popular when they're wide and safe with room for heaters and ADA ramps and tables that can accommodate groups larger than 4. Well, next I was thinking about the potential New Year's resolutions for the city. Since the reason you gave us to reduce our patios with the fire department was uncomfortable with how busy the promenade had become, now that you don't have to worry about that because it's really just electric bikers, which is a good thing because I guess we don't have to worry about that anymore, right? But I was thinking this year we could maybe try something different. Instead of only telling us how you'll be hurting businesses and making things more difficult for us, what if you had staff come down and see if there were places that a ladder truck wouldn't be needed and possibly allow for more outdoor space? You brought the fire department down and said where we couldn't have more patios, but you didn't come and say where we could have more. Maybe you could hold a meeting with business owners and ask what might help this year instead of starting the year by crushing the vibrance of the promenade like you did last year. And I know this sounds crazy, but be business friendly and come down and see if there are patios that could be larger due to businesses closing or a large tree prevents the use of a ladder like in front of Joe's. M Special and Night Lizard could obviously use more space. They're the only things on their block. Mr. Mayor, can we get back to the same vibrance downtown that you afforded the public market since March? And if we're really, really lucky, we'll have a safe, vibrant promenade again. And we'll be able to get to welcome back our older residents who have stopped coming downtown mainly due to safety concerns and a lack of outdoor seating, especially at places like Joe's. I know Gene doesn't need the money, but our elderly residents were coming downtown and sitting on Joe's large patio. And now that it's smaller, they don't come down any longer. You basically made all of our elderly residents stop coming downtown. Oftentimes, older people can't stand and wait for a very long time. So it makes a tremendous difference as to how much seating is available at their desired restaurant. Please move the bikes to bike lanes that were designed for them. Bikes are supposed to follow the rules of the road, but cars aren't allowed on state to do 25 miles per hour. Why are bikes allowed to go 30? Please protect our children, elderly, animals, and visitors from being run over on our walking promenade. Is it too much asked to have someone hold their finger throttle for one more block to support the health and safety of our downtown residents, businesses, and visitors? As LA considers masking indoors, Mr. Mayor, have your policies and your know-it-all attitude left our city in a position to navigate a potential COVID spike? That's what we'd like for the holidays, Mr. Mayor, a safe, vibrant downtown until the master plan is completed. Is that too much to ask? Do you think we deserve that? You know, a safe, vibrant promenade? Well, thank you again for your time and your service to our great city. I'm really hoping for a great 2020-23. Thank you, guys.
All right, well, that will wrap up public comment. And move on to the consent calendar. You have some items to read, Madam Clerk?
I do, Mr. Mayor. We have item 1, lease agreement for office space for the Sustainability and Resilience Department at 801 Garden Street, ordinance adoption agreement. Recommendation that council adopt by reading of title only, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara authorizing the Sustainability and Resilience Director to execute an office lease agreement with Hayes Property Management for the property located at 801 Garden Street, Suite 200, commencing upon the effective date of the lease agreement, January 16th, 2023. Item 2, establishment of a standing finance committee, ordinance introduction. Recommendation that council introduce and subsequently adopt by reading of title only, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara amending the Santa Barbara Municipal Code to add Chapter 2.06 to establish a standing finance committee and rescind Resolution 94-130. Item 3, ordinance committee process revisions, ordinance introduction. Recommendation the council introduce and subsequently adopt by reading of title only, an ordinance of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara amending Chapter 2.05 of the Municipal Code pertaining to the powers and duties of the ordinance committee. Item 4, amendment to position salary control resolution 22064 with updates to classification and compensation for certain positions, resolution. Recommendation that council adopt by reading of title only, a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara amending Resolution 22064, the position salary control resolution for fiscal year 2023 to amend the established salary for positions listed and to establish the Assistant Police Chief and Police Administrative Manager job classifications with effective dates as listed. Item 5, resolution of intention to modify the management district plan of the Santa Barbara South Coast Tourism Business Improvement District. Resolution. Recommendation that council adopt by reading of title only, a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara declaring its intention to modify the existing Santa Barbara South Coast Tourism Business Improvement District. Item 6, establishing customer facility charge for rental car contracts at the Santa Barbara Airport. Resolution. Recommendation that council adopt by reading of title only, a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara approving establishment of customer facility charge to be imposed by and collected by airport rental car companies to be used to proportionally reimburse capital expenditures for Southfield redevelopment project and finance, design, and construction of the airport parking structure. Item 7, records destruction for airport department. Resolution. Recommendation that council adopt by reading of title only, a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara relating to the destruction of records held by the airport department and the operations division. Item 8, statement of investment policy and delegation of investment authority for calendar year 2023. Resolution. Recommendation that council adopt by reading of title only, a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara adopting the investment policy for the city and rescinding resolution number 21084. Item 9, acceptance of Parma Park Trust funds for the Sustainable Trails Project. Resolution. Recommendation that council adopt by reading of title only, a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara amending resolution 22059, adopting the budget for fiscal year 2023 to increase appropriations and estimated revenues by $94,541. In the Parks and Recreation Department fiscal year 2023 miscellaneous grants fund for phase 1 through 3 of the Sustainable Trails Project. And item 10, Santa Barbara Airport Master Drainage Plan Update Resolution Agreement. Recommendation that Council A authorize the airport to execute a city professional services agreement with Mead and Hunt, Inc. in the amount of $312,361 for planning services to update the 2001 Santa Barbara Airport Master Drainage Plan, and authorize the airport director to amend the agreement and approve expenditures of up to $31,236 for extra services that may result from necessary changes in the scope of work for a total of $343,597. And B, adopt by reading of title only, a resolution of the Council of the City of Santa Barbara amending resolution number 22059, adopting the budget for fiscal year 2023 to appropriate funds for professional services contract for Santa Barbara Airport Master Drainage Plan.
All right, thank you. Does any council member need to pull anything off the consent item for discussion? Are there any public comments about consent?
No, Mr. Mayor?
All right, very good. In that case, I will entertain a motion on the consent calendar.
I motion to move
So
the
moved.
consent calendar.
So moved by Alejandro Gutierrez, seconded by Ms. Harmon. I think that was your disembodied voice up there on the screen.
Second.
There we go. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Very good. This is a motion by Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez, seconded by Mayor Pro Tem Harmon for the entirety of the consent calendar. Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedman.
Yes.
Councilmember Snedden.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Harmon.
Yes.
Councilmember Oscar Gutierrez.
Aye.
Councilmember Jordan.
Yes.
And Mayor Ross.
Aye. Thank you. All right, that concludes the consent calendar. We'll take a report from the Ordinance Committee. Ms. Snedden.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. We heard proposed municipal code amendments pertaining to the Santa Barbara Arts and Crafts Show. This came after 21 meetings and then came to ordinance for our final stamp, and we'll be moving on to council.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, we'll move on to our next item. Madam Clerk.
Very good. That is item 18, annual presentation from Visit Santa Barbara.
All right, very good. We will have our usual nice visuals and musical interlude from Visit Santa Barbara.
I hope we live up to your expectations, Mayor. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Kathy Janega Dykes. I'm president and CEO of Visit Santa Barbara, and we're the destination marketing organization for the South Coast. And certainly on behalf of my team and our hospitality industry, we wish you all a very happy holiday. It's hard to believe that Christmas is just 2 weeks away, and Hanukkah as well. But I'm especially grateful to have this opportunity to share our updates as we approach the new year. And certainly, while no 2 years seem the same, especially here in Santa Barbara, I think that 2022 has been particularly memorable as we have welcomed many new visitors to the American Riviera. But before I get started, I'd like to share with you one beautiful impression of the South Coast that we have produced on the city's behalf.
In some places, beauty is an encore. In Santa Barbara, it's only the beginning. Here, on this graceful crescent of coast, the sea and mountains feel as one. The sun feels more golden, and the valleys overflow with a bounty of color. New experiences deliver next-level sensations, and the warmth extends far beyond the incomparable atmosphere. You see, there's beautiful, and there's Santa Barbara.
I love that video. I've seen that video so many different times, but I still get goosebumps when I watch it, and it really showcases this beautiful destination that we all live and work in. There are certainly over 100 organizations like Visit Santa Barbara that are our competitors, and they are going after the same customer as we are as well. Yet I always feel that Santa Barbara has the upper hand in with a brand that really checks so many boxes for our visitors. But nevertheless, I do want to say up front that we don't do our work for the traveler, but in fact, we show up for the community here, our residents, your constituents. Our residents are our customers. But thank you for the decades of partnership with the hospitality as we continue to improve the quality of life by hosting our visitors. And we'll talk more a little bit about how that plays out. Our shared challenge remains the same pre-COVID as well as post-COVID. I think that you'll agree that the city and Visit Santa Barbara do their best work together when we protect the area's reputation as a beautiful and welcoming destination. We also must strike the right balance by encouraging the right development and necessarily all development. And both Visit Santa Barbara and the city really have the best success when the interests of our residents, our workers, and their employees are taken to heart. And if today's presentation is to have a theme for you and your audience, this is what I'd love for you to remember. Hosting visitors is really vital for Santa Barbara. And we've tried to explain that over the years, certainly when we've faced many crises in the past. But until 2020, I think that this is the time that we are best to explain that visitors contribute to the fabric of the destination, certainly our community. And never in our lives did we believe that we'd have an opportunity to go ahead and illustrate that. More so than any other national or regional crisis, we actually have a case study to explain what happens when Santa Barbara loses all of their visitors. Again, we've seen this time and time again, but COVID was certainly the time when we saw the greatest impact. And when we take a look at these stats, they're staggering. A staggering 14,000 leisure and hospitality jobs vanished in Santa Barbara County in just less than 8 weeks. The city of Santa Barbara experienced hotel occupancy of 10%, which caused 15 hotels to close within 4 weeks. Many of our favorite restaurants and retailers, of course, closed. And Santa Barbara Airport could have been repurposed as a ghost town in a Western movie. At one point, there were only 6 commercial aircraft that arrived, in which most of them were empty. And the impact, and I don't need to tell this to you, the municipal budget was staggering as well. Transient occupancy tax dipped by more than 90%, and city sales tax fell over 25%. It was certainly horrendous. But we're really lucky because this community has a way of coming out on top, and I'm proud to say that Santa Barbara has surpassed many of Visit Santa Barbara's most optimistic recovery projections. We stayed in the market aggressively right from day one. Hotel occupancy has rebounded to 73%, and transient occupancy taxes will likely set another record for 2 years in a row. And we're also seeing fresh new restaurants and retailers and other businesses that are really bringing life to the neighborhoods and to tax coffers alike. And certainly new nonstop flights offer resident and local companies easier access than ever before through our Santa Barbara airport. And most importantly, the county has returned to pre-pandemic levels of employment with over 14,000 hospitality jobs that have been added since 2020. But with that said, let's take a look at the ways our rejuvenated visitor industry is impacting Santa Barbara. Certainly, most importantly to this body, let's start with how success in the Santa Barbara accommodation sector really has benefited locals, often really in that unseen way. Here we've charted the recent history of the city's, we're using the 10% occupancy tax. We removed the 2% because that immediately goes to the cleanliness of our creeks. And although 2020 and 21 were significantly impacted by COVID restrictions, we're thrilled that fiscal year 2022 not only recovered, but it also set a new record by over $7 million. And with the current fiscal year almost halfway completed, we see a path for another record as visitors continue to pay higher rates than last year for their bookings. And arguably, most importantly, as I'd mentioned earlier, the next community impact is on jobs. This is an area we're so invested in as the industry relies on talented and certainly friendly teams to deliver for our guests. And you may recall the tales of businesses struggling to service the surge in business activity once COVID restrictions were removed. And it caused us extra anxiety in 2021 as we heard from hotels that they could not open at full capacity to be able to offer the service that their guests expect. And the same thing with our restaurant industry. Many closed for lunch service or would only open for certain days of the week. And it was a really jarring thing to hear. It led Visit Santa Barbara into a whole brand new frontier, and that's workforce development. We took it very seriously. And to date, we've held 4 career fairs connecting local job seekers with hotels, restaurants, and attraction operators who are really eager to hire. And additionally, the Santa Barbara South Coast Chamber of Commerce was contracted by Visit Santa Barbara to execute an area-wide campaign to remind students and residents of the rewarding opportunities that exist in our fast-paced, people-oriented industry. And we're also in conversations with UCSB Continuing Education Program to launch new seminar and certificate programs relevant to our industry. So between Visit Santa Barbara and the Chamber and UCSB, we're fortunately to have such talented institutions, certainly right here in our community. The next community impact I want to talk about is the success that we have had in improving commercial air service at Santa Barbara Airport. And I certainly want to commend all of the Santa Barbara Airport team for being certainly one of our closest partners, and particularly a welcome to our new airport director, Chris Hassard, who's been so great to work with from day one. And whether it's pitching new routes like Las Vegas, Oakland, or Sacramento, or sharing data, our organizations are both really working hard together. And with available seats through Santa Barbara Airport up 21%, I'd like to share an insight that actually you may find kind of surprising. We're doing this with fewer takeoffs and landings than in years before. And we certainly understand the noise mitigation concerns, and they are a rightful priority for residents in the flight path of the runways. The commercial flights have been able to increase seats and lower passenger costs by flying more customers per plane. And the success that we've seen is certainly a big win for our visitor industry, as we prefer to diversify our markets too. But our relationship with the community extends much deeper than just taxes improved air service. This year, we're proud to weave culture into the tapestry of all of our marketing messages. And these beloved institutions, they not only benefit from exposure to visitors, but the visitor industry is particularly grateful that they each add to the richness of the South Coast region. Santa Barbara would not be Santa Barbara without these cultural institutions. They, together, the visitors improve the vitality of their programs. They and then expand the number of reasons why one should choose Santa Barbara, certainly over our competitors. And beyond local concerts, festivals, and markets, and I love them all, I can't emphasize enough what a draw the city of Santa Barbara is for this region. And this is an interesting slide, even for those hotel guests who choose to stay in Goleta or Montecito. And shown here are 3 lists of the top 7 locations hotel guests were found using our detailed cell phone research. And note that the city of Santa Barbara has the most hotel rooms along the South Coast. Although they have the most hotel rooms along the South Coast, the top attractions for Goleta and Montecito overnight visitors are the State Street Promenade, the Funk Zone, and Coast Village Road. So the affinity for the city of Santa Barbara really supports our restaurants, our wineries, our retail shops, cultural attractions, all within the city limits. And in turn, the city of Santa Barbara really generates an outsized contribution to sales tax, jobs, and business viability. So by now, you must be proud of the visitors' impact in the city. I certainly am as well. But the next 2 slides are actually my favorite. So our crowning success isn't just that we're making a positive impact within the city. It's that in many ways, this impact surpasses those generated for our competitors. We're outpacing our competitors. And here you see the most important hotel performance measure, its growth in revenue per available room compared to 2019 before COVID. And with the city of Santa Barbara up an astonishing 44%, our performance surpasses the average for the county, the Western U.S., and really the country as a whole. And all of this is in a context where the state of California is still working to get back to even. Shown here, shown another way, here's an extensive list of all of our top competitors, predominantly in Southern California. Still, the growth of Santa Barbara topped them all, and congratulations to everyone within the city, the hotel industry, and the community that really support Visit Santa Barbara. We, again, couldn't be more proud of all of these achievements. And rounding out this presentation, I want to offer you a quick glimpse behind the scenes at Visit Santa Barbara's marketing program. And it's often unseen because our work is done really outside the community, focusing in visitor markets. And again, I couldn't be happier with the work that we have done this past year. And if you haven't picked it up by the charts shown today, our programs are deeply guided by our commitment to data-driven decision-making. Our programs are really designed and informed by the research that we conduct. The market analysis looks outward as the likelihood of an audience to book overnight travel to the region. But more importantly, it also looks inward as we evaluate the efficiency of our spending. So new in 2022, I'm thrilled to announce that we have commissioned a fresh visitor profile study and economic impact study. Simultaneously, we're using the same third-party research film to build an updated profile of Santa Barbara's cruise passengers. By this time next year, we'll be able to more accurately share the benefits that cruise passengers have on downtown retailers, restaurants, and certainly the recreation vendors throughout the Santa Barbara area. And equally important to Visit Santa Barbara's mission to attract overnight visitors, this cruise study will clarify how likely passengers are to later return to the South Coast for even longer vacation than just the day trip that we're here after being exposed to the charm of our destination during their brief port visit. And as a reminder, you and your staff, Visit Santa Barbara is always happy to share research with you and your constituents. We have some research right now. We'll continue to update it for your use as well, too. So we've covered a lot of really heavy topics, and now that we've talked data, let's return to our favorite work, storytelling. This is what we all do. And here's what Santa Barbara looks like through one of our latest 30-second commercials. This is an example of a new photo and video shoot that we conducted this past summer, and I think those sisters could not have sold Santa Barbara any better. And whether in video or certainly social media or transitional print ads, Santa Barbara, as you can see, always takes center stage. So once we've piqued their interest with our story filled with wellness, food and libations, arts and culture, outdoor recreation, and a dash of sophisticated luxury, we don't stop there. We must also convert curiosity into action. And starting this October, one of the ways that we've done this is through a region-wide lodging promotion offering 25% off stays at hotels and vacation rentals. And knowing how important longer stays are to regional businesses, we also organize what has become really our most successful promotion yet, our Third Night Free campaign. And these are all examples of promotions that we've designed to be able to respond quickly to the business conditions that we're seeing in the marketplace. So aside from paid advertising, our storytelling also encompasses working with top-tier journalists to earn publicity to large-scale travel publications. And boy, we've had success with this. These longer format stories really give a sense of authenticity and rarely achieved in advertising. And while each year we share Santa Barbara's achievements on top lists, this one media list that I think you'll recognize made us more prouder than any other. After months of Visit Santa Barbara coordinating angles and filming locations with her team, look at what the first moment of what turned out to be a series of primetime stories.
The old Santa Barbara mission was founded by Spanish Franciscans in 1786. It's just one of the picturesque sites that helped put Santa Barbara on the map.
I think a lot of you have seen that before, and actually had it replayed at least one other time as well. But I immediately after that aired on Sunday morning, I started to receive texts from colleagues from across the country, all who are loyal followers of that show as well. So this is my final slide, and I certainly appreciate the time that you've shared with me this afternoon. More than any other question I think the concept of what's coming down, what's coming next season or next seems top of mind for all of the audiences I address. And in short, certainly the pandemic has taught us lessons that really last a lifetime. And these lessons include the need to maximize the moment that we have at hand, remain grateful, of course, for all the good times, and remember that change is inevitable. So all of the record-setting results I just showed you were based on our annual or seasonal insights. But I want to be honest with you as we take a look at what is our crystal ball here, that November data kind of shook us up a bit, whether caused by difficult comparisons to last Thanksgiving, holiday rush, or based on wet weather. November was the first month where we started to see year-over-year hotel performance starting to decline. And our challenge is really is compounded by hotel rates rising slower than the rate of inflation and apparent softening in some of the leisure markets. So thankfully, we've got some very thick skin, and this destination has developed a very hardened spirit of resilience. And again, as I referenced earlier with those promotions, those are designed to be able to launch at a moment's notice in response to the declines that we've seen. The bottom line is we have to continue to market aggressively. We have from day one, and we have to continue for years to come. So I thank you all very much for your time, for your partnership, and the support that you've given us as well. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much for that presentation. Ms. Snedden has a question.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Nicolais. I just have a couple questions. I mean, when you show that slide of how Santa Barbara's been so much more successful in rebounding than, I mean, you mentioned across the country and other places, what do you think is like the core reason for that? I mean, obviously it's the advertising and the marketing, but there must be some reason why it's so different.
Mayor Rouse, Councilmember Snedden, I think it's actually a combination of a couple things. One is we were in the market immediately. So when our hotels were permitted to reopen, we were one of the first destination marketing organizations to launch an advertising campaign. We're using every bit of money that we had and putting it back in the market and keeping our fingers crossed that it will return in certainly tax collections and TBIG collections, and it worked. So that, I think, by far is the first, one of the first ways. The other is really using some of this research that we're using. So we no longer do this shotgun approach, trying to tell the world about Santa Barbara, but being very hyper-focused and using cell phone data to be able to identify who our prospective customers are. Most of our advertising dollars are spent in digital media. We do certainly run some print ads, but that gives us an opportunity to make changes immediately if we're seeing that some of the ads are not producing. And then I think finally, I mean, we're very fortunate, as I referenced earlier. I mean, this is such a beautiful destination. We continue to see very loyal customers continuing to travel to this area, and all of it is a result of all of the decisions that you all are making to make this community incredible and special.
Thank you. And then you referenced the resident sentiment study in one of the slides. What are you asking residents, or what is that survey about?
We're in the process of conducting a resident sentiment study, and there are a variety of different questions that we're asking just about their knowledge of the tourism industry and the benefits of the tourism industry as well, too. So part of it will be used as a baseline for us. Once we gather this data, we then understand what more we need to do to certainly educate our community about the benefits of tourism as well. But I think certainly the before COVID or the COVID slide and the after slide is a clear illustration of what happens to Santa Barbara when we don't have tourism.
Thank you. And then one of the slides, I think in our packet, but maybe wasn't in the presentation, had record referrals to hotels and vacation rentals.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in how you collect that data. Does it include illegal vacation rentals? Or is it sort of a blanket of data? Just if you could give us more detail on that.
I think the slide that you're referencing, I took it out because I wasn't sure if it was going to be a little, it takes a little bit of explanation. But everything, all of our marketing that we're doing, whether it's running digital ads or print ads or even working with journalists, all of that is directed to our website. So the website becomes the end-all, and we're constantly updating content on our website to make sure that it's fresh and it continues to contain all of the information that our visitors are looking for. So it does include our lodging facilities. We receive a list of short-term rentals from all of our jurisdictions, including the city of Santa Barbara, the county, and then also the city of Goleta. And then those are then included on our website, or we include some content that talks about the short-term rentals that are available throughout the whole region.
So that reflects data that's collected from the city rather than independently collected data that could
Correct.
Inform the city? Okay.
Yeah, all of our mailing lists are those from our jurisdictions. And then just one other thing to add, and the reason why the website referrals are so important is that we track the referrals that are then sent to all of our hospitality businesses. We can tell whether we're seeing success with our campaigns, and all of our lodging businesses can also see that success by the level of referrals that they receive.
Thank you. And then the last question is sort of about the record number of jobs. And I know this is an ongoing conversation we've been having about if there was sort of a bell curve, or if you could tell us where the bulk of those jobs are, and then also maybe sort of the income ranges of those, because I know we talk a lot about the nexus between this industry booming and the housing needs that are needed for that. So just sort of an idea of in which brackets of that it's
I wish I could tell you more, but the numbers that we receive are actually from the county. Okay. So include kind of leisure and accommodations section or category as well. And It's not to say that our industry is still not plagued with, unemployment. We still need workers in our industry, but fortunately, we're able to see at least, certainly, those numbers beginning to climb after they have been down for so long. I think one of our goals when we're looking at these workforce development initiatives, it's really twofold. One is we need bodies in our hotels, we need, workers in our restaurants and our attractions. But the long term is really looking at career opportunities and really targeting maybe a younger demographic who had never thought about working in the hospitality industry. And those are kind of long-term, career jobs for those. So that's why we're also involved with, some of the educational institutions and educating them about the career opportunities in the area.
Thank you.
Ms. Gutierrez. You good? All right, very good. Real quickly, Mr. Jankadikes, I was, let's see if I was listening correctly. You mentioned something about the airplane landings versus the passenger counts. Now, do you say there were actually more passengers per landing or less landings overall? And a higher number of passengers? Did I get that right?
Mayor Rouse, so what I was referencing is that there are fewer planes. They're larger planes, but we have, so the larger planes are certainly servicing more people per airplane, but there are fewer planes flying in and out of Santa Barbara.
Less landings, okay.
Yeah,
I
less
was wondering if I
landings.
heard you correctly. Okay, very good. Do we have any, number one, are there further questions? Do we have any public comment?
Mr. Mayor, there are no raised hands online right now.
Okay, very good. Okay, we'll go back to council for comments. Mr. Jordan and then Mr. Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I certainly am appreciative of the advantage I have and pleasure every month to intrude upon your board meetings as the liaison. Much of this I get to see ongoing and just get brainwashed, apparently, right? But you could have stopped with me today on your worldview slide. That is by far one of the best statements I've ever seen because it rolls up all the challenges and opportunities of anything tourism in Santa Barbara on both the benefit you can bring, the impacts you can bring, but particularly the 3 points that you make there on making sure that everything tries to remain in balance with both opportunities and impacts. That should be reduced and on the back of every one of your business cards, and you should lead with that side when you're handing it out locally, because I think that just really embodies my relationship and my experience with your group and also the benefits you provide. I'm happy you use that, the trite phrase, change is inevitable near the end, because it is. It gives me an opportunity to use my favorite Jerry Brown 2.0 quote, and that is, to do nothing is to do something. If we sit on our hands, if we do not continue to market, react, work on impacts, all of the above, we go backwards and we lose all the benefits that this community has received because of tourism, that our families have received, the economics we've received, that employers have received. And I just want to congratulate you on both allowing me to participate in this process as your liaison and also on the great job I think you guys do collectively. So thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Rouse, Councilmember Jordan. I'll be sure to print up a bumper sticker with all of those talking points on there for you. But I appreciate your participation in our board meetings, because you do give us certainly a better view of what's happening in our community. And I think for us, it's not so much about reacting to change, but it's about really looking ahead. And I think that's one of the things that our team does so well, led by James Midton, is looking ahead, like what are the headwinds that we should be anticipating, and building programs to be able to respond to those. If you wait to react to, then it's a little bit late. So it's really planning ahead. But I appreciate all of your support and your engagement in our meetings.
Okay, Mr. Friedman, before you get started, we did have a raised hand right at that precious moment when we switched over, so please go ahead with the public comment.
Very good. This is Lee Heller. Lee Heller, please go ahead.
Mayor and council, I also submitted a request to speak through your online registration, so I'm not sure what happened with that. And the clerk may want to look at what's going on there. Thank you. I wanted to thank Visit Santa Barbara for the presentation. I have always said that part of what makes Santa Barbara so vibrant is that we are a tourist attraction, and we will always have more restaurants and movies and theaters and museums than if it was just our local population. So I'm very grateful for that. I also received a resident sentiment study text yesterday and had a chance to participate in it, and that was an interesting experience. It is really clear that branding is what's critical, and I'm glad to see that that's a point of focus. But I would also say that when it comes to the issue of cruise ships, I think we need to ask some more specific questions, and I hope Visit Santa Barbara will do this, because there is a trade-off in having visitors come on ships that both generate a lot of greenhouse gases and other forms of ocean pollution. And so I think it's important to look at the number of visitors that come, the amount of money they actually spend, since they're not contributing to TOT. They're probably not even eating dinner at restaurants because the buffets are so good. Having been on a cruise, I can speak to that. And so I think it would help to have a deep dive into really whether or not these visitors are equivalent to the other visitors that do attend movies and theater, because they are staying overnight. They do eat dinner at our restaurants. They're here long enough to shop and to visit our museums. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Are there further public comments?
No, Mr. Mayor, no further hands raised.
Okay, we'll go back to council comments. Mr. Friedman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Ms. Janega Dykes. And it's great to see all that's taken place. And I just really want to appreciate when you're talking about not being reactive and being more proactive. You have a lot of experience, the Visit Santa Barbara does, as happened going back to when myself and a couple of my Councilmember Sneddon and were first elected onto the council at the time, and it was the day we got sworn in was the debris flow. And in the middle of that, while the freeway wasn't even open yet, Visit Santa Barbara did a big pivot, and you did the planning because you were looking at everything is going to reopen at some point, and you engaged Visit California, and you got them to really focus on us in Sonoma, who also had wildfires at the time. And so we had those resources, and I remember they came down here, and I think it was in April of that year, so it's just a couple months after. And it showed what's possible when you're looking ahead, when you're in the middle of the crisis, but you also have expertise that's looking ahead, because that was the biggest hit we'd had up until COVID, or one of the biggest hits our community had ever seen in terms of the tourist industry and businesses closing down and losing that entire holiday season. And that really helped us recover that summer. And if it hadn't been for that, COVID might have even been even worse, because we wouldn't have had some of those businesses that were just hanging on to have at least some revenue coming in that 1 year before the pandemic came in. And then you had that experience and translated that into how we approached COVID. So, and again, it engaged Visit California and all those extra resources. And so it didn't just happen by accident that we're 44% when the state of California is negative 2% in terms of growth, as you showed on the slide. And it comes from careful planning, having a great team. So I know it's you and your team, and partnering with the city in terms of revenue that we provide and others that you go out there and you have. And so to really have that plan in place, it helps us, and it helps us tell our story. And I always refer to Santa Barbara as the biggest small town you could ever live in. And that's why a lot of people like to come here, not just for the beauty, but because we have all these amenities that are out there. For a town our size, it's unparalleled, I think, in the United States. So I just want to appreciate the work that your organization has done, both during the pandemic, but also prior to that, during the fire and the debris flow. And then it's also imperative, and you're doing that, to do the resident survey, because understanding what the locals want and what they want downtown or other places. That gives information to our businesses and maybe future businesses that want to open here to cater to the locals, because that is what the tourists want to see. So that you're investing in where the locals are going, that is going to continue. Even when we have headwinds, it'll pay dividends down the line. So again, just thank you for all your work, and the results speak for themselves, as you've shown tonight, and we are heavily dependent on this economy, but it doesn't just happen. It comes through careful and thoughtful planning. So I appreciate all you do.
Mayor Rouse, Councilmember Friedman, thank you for your kind words as well. I think back to the onset of the pandemic and when we started to put together what was then a quarterly business plan as opposed to an annual plan, because no one knew what was going to happen. We had two goals, and one was saving jobs and the other was saving businesses. And so we're pretty fortunate that we've been able to manage to accomplish both. So I appreciate all of your support. We've worked together for a very long time, and thank you for your engagement. And again, as I'd mentioned previously during the presentation, our customers are residents. So what we do is all about benefiting this community. It's about economic development. It's about quality of life.
Ms. Sneed.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. I'll just add to the accolades here, but a few observations in the last couple of years and things that I've particularly appreciated is, I think it was a year or two ago, the emphasis on ecotourism and really how many ways to enjoy the natural environment here, and I thought that was a really positive moment for us too. And I noticed on one of those tiles there you had Santa Barbara on a budget, which is one of my most favorite things about Santa Barbara is how much you can enjoy here without spending money, how many festivals and just different activities that with children. And it's really clear in your advertising and in the videos, which always make me feel like, oh, I want to live in Santa Barbara. I want to visit there. I mean, it just brings so much pride, but it's really clear that you're focusing on equity and inclusion and not just one brand of Santa Barbara for just one type of tourist, but really broadening that view and giving visuals to that, to showing that we're a community for everyone on any budget and coming from anywhere. And on the branding also that you emphasize the natural beauty, the museums, the culture, other things also, and manage to bring that all together in those short clips. So just really appreciating that emphasis. It's clearly a concerted effort. So just really applaud the effort you're taking.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse, Councilmember Sneddon. Thank you for recognizing certainly the diversity that we're showcasing of Santa Barbara throughout those videos. We have tons more, so if anyone needs to use them for any of your own programs, feel free to contact us. We're happy to provide those videos too. So I appreciate your kind words.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we'll get set up for the next item. We'll be right back.
Item 19, appointments to the Fire and Police Commission.
Okay, we have a process we're going to follow. I'm going to ask Ms. Bjork to describe that for us, if you would.
Thank you, Mayor Rouse, council members. I propose that you first nominate your slate for the 5 available positions, vote on the 5 available positions, and then take subsequent votes to assign 3 of those positions to a 4-year term and 2 of those positions to a 2-year term.
All right, very good. Ms. Gutierrez has a quick announcement.
Yeah, I would just like to announce to the public that I did review the interviews from last week online, and I do have my pick.
Thank you. All right, very good. And Mr. Gutierrez, you have a comment? No. Okay. Well, So, Madam Clerk, we will then, what, open it up to nominations, is that, and then we'll go from there?
Very, very good, Mr. Mayor. Oh, go ahead.
So we're picking 2 4-years?
Mayor Rouse, Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez, what we are first doing is nominating for the full board of 5 people. We will then have 3 4-year terms and 2 2-year terms.
So our first thing is to nominate our slates, if you have nominations. So with that,
And Mr. Mayor, I would just note that there are no hands raised to speak on this.
oh, thank you. Somebody's got to be paying attention. Clearly, it wasn't me.
Together.
So with that, Mr. Gutierrez, you had your light on first, followed by Ms. Sneddon, followed by Ms. Gutierrez, followed by Mr. Friedman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I recommend Lizzie Rodriguez, Anna Zapeta, Linda Dozer, Gary Hill, and Daniel Herlinger.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Sneddon.
I have to do a mental thing. Okay, so 4 of those were the same of mine, and I would add to that list Scott Burns. Scott Burns.
All right, thank you. Next up was Ms. Gutierrez. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to add John Thine to that one and Paul Hanna.
Mr. Jordan, Mr. Gutierrez, you went already. Okay, Mr. Jordan.
Like, you might just nominate them all. I would add Bashar and Trotter.
Okay, I've got a bunch of lights on. Is somebody waiting to speak, or everybody forgetting to turn their lights off? Mr. Gutierrez, are you? Okay, very good. So all of my nominees have been nominated, so
Mayor Rouse, at this point, I think you should do a roll call vote for the 5, so if each person can list their 5 top choices.
thank you
we-
very
we will
much.
take a
Ms.
tally.
Gorman, if you would, please. And Mr. Lopez, you're the one keeping score over there, is that? Or hopefully there's 2 of us keeping score. Somebody's got to know the score. Okay, one moment, please.
Go alphabetically to make it easy.
We're going to roll call the individuals, and we're each going to name our,
Mayor Rouse, I recommend that you have the clerk poll each person list their 5 candidates, and
Okay.
we will keep track. And then at the
Okay,
end,
I
we'll tell
think-
you who has a quorum.
everybody got that?
Mr. Mayor, did Councilmember Harmon have any nominations?
I haven't heard from Ms. Harmon. She's still there?
All of mine were listed.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So we will poll council members individually and get to 5. And you guys could keep score and let us know what's going on. With that, it's back to Ms. Gorman.
Very good. And Mr. Mayor and Council, I will just list the last names of everyone who was nominated so far, so everyone knows.
Okay,
Although it's
thank
not,
you.
not in alphabetical order. And its last names here: Rodriguez, Zepeda, Dozer, Hill, Herlinger, Burns, Thine, Hanna, Bashar, and Trotter. That's everyone? Okay. And again, I will be listing out the names of each council member state your 5 persons you would like to have appointed. This will be the standard rotating roll call order. The next, with this next vote, it will start with Councilmember Friedman and go down the dais. And then our next vote will start with Councilmember Sneddon. and
Okay, is
Governor
everybody
Rouse.
prepared?
Ready?
Okey doke.
Okay. Councilmember Friedman.
Dozer, Rodriguez, Zepeda, Hill, and Hurlinger. Hurlinger.
Councilmember Sneddon.
In alphabetical order, Burns, Dozer, Hill, Rodriguez, Zepeda.
Mayor Pro Tem Harmon.
Rodriguez, Zepeda, Hill, Dozer, and Hurlinger.
Councilmember Oscar Gutierrez.
Dozer, Hurlinger, sorry, Hill, Rodriguez, Zepeda.
Councilmember Jordan.
Rodriguez,
Closer to the mic, please.
what?
Closer to the mic. Mr.
Rodriguez, Zepeda, Dozer, Hill, Hurlinger.
Councilmember Alejandra Gutierrez.
Dozer, Hannah, Rodriguez, Stein, Cepeda.
And Mayor Rouse.
Bishar, Burns, Dozer, Hurlinger, and Rodriguez. All right, we'll let the scorekeepers tally over there. Should have a little theme music, don't you think? Okay, what do we have, Mr. Clerk?
All right, this is just by last name. We have Dozer, Hurlinger, Hill, Rodriguez, and Zepeda.
So if I can repeat so that I understood, Dozier, Hurlinger, Hill, Rodriguez, Zepeda, is that correct?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, very good. So we have the five top vote getters. And now we decide,
Now, please, we would like the three people for the 4-year term. So if you can come up with your 3 people that you would like to put in the 4-year term.
okay, very good. And then we will poll for that. Okay. We're going to poll. Do you have a comment, Mr. Friedman? We're going to poll for it.
Oh, never mind. I was going to.
Same thing, Mr. Gutierrez. We're going to poll for it, or do you have a comment?
No.
Okay, we're going to poll again, so. For the 4-year term? And is everyone ready for that? Ms. Gorman?
Very good. Again, please say your 3 persons for the 3 4-year terms. We will start this vote with Councilmember Sneddon. Councilmember Sneddon.
Thank you. Dozer, Hill, Zepeda.
Mayor Pro Tem Harmon.
Dozer, Rodriguez, Zepeda.
Councilmember Oscar Gutierrez.
Dozer, Rodriguez, Cepeda.
Councilmember Jordan.
Dozer, Hill, and Herlinger.
Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez.
Dozer, Cepeda, and Rodriguez.
Councilmember Friedman.
Dozer, Rodriguez, and Zepeda.
Mayor Rouse.
Dozer, Hardinger, Hill.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, who was your second person?
Dozer, Herlinger, Hill.
Very good, thank you.
Mr. Lopez.
We have Dozer, Rodriguez, and Zepeda.
Okay.
And Mayor Rouse, I think by default, your other two are appointed to the 2-year term.
Very good. So we have Dozer, Rodriguez, and Zepeda for 3 of the 4-year terms. And then we have Herlinger and Hill for the 2-year terms. All right? Everybody clear on that? All righty then. I think that's it. Thanks very much.
Mr.
We
Mayor,
have,
there's also I'm sorry if you were going to wrap up, but there's also another recommendation that needs to be taken. Recommendation A, to end the terms of the existing commission and the service of the existing commission.
So I'll make that motion.
okay.
Second it.
Moved by Jordan, second by Gutierrez.
Very good. This is a motion by Councilmember Jordan, seconded by Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez for recommendation A to end the terms of service for the current members of the Fire and Police Commission as of December 13th.
I guess might as well just clean that up and say, make the appointments for B that we just found in today's action also.
And Ms. Gutierrez, seconder on that? You good?
Second.
Okay,
good.
very good, thank you.
Okay. So moved. Mayor Pro Tem Harmon.
Yes.
Councilmember Oscar Gutierrez.
Aye.
Councilmember Jordan.
Yes.
Councilmember Alejandro Gutierrez.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedman.
Yes.
Councilmember Snedden.
Yes.
And Mayor Rouse.
Aye.
Very good.
All right, thank you very much. And with that, we'll go to council member committee assignment reports. Let's see, Ms. Snedden?
Thank you, Mayor Rouse. We had a housing crisis ad hoc committee meeting discussing tenant protections on that one. Attended the Southern California Edison GAP meeting, and that's a government advisory panel. And mainly they were discussing hardening and fire safety and movements on that statewide. I attended one of the State Street Create State Street community meetings, very well attended, very exciting, a lot of community input there and different input at different tables. Also attended the Parade of Lights and a school board meeting yesterday honoring outgoing members Kate Ford and Laura Capps, and also an event by Dem Women honoring Susan Salcedo and Susan Rose as Women of the Year.
Thank you, Mr. Gutierrez.
Yes, I attended a ribbon cutting held by the Chamber of Commerce for a CBD store. That was really nice because they started off at the beginning of the pandemic and they're still in business. I attended the Christmas parties for TV Santa Barbara and the Santa Barbara Historical Museum. Did a walk along the waterfront with SB Act and other community stakeholders like downtown Santa Barbara. And Mayor Rouse was with me, and it was really good to be able to meet with those hotel and business owners and get to hear their issues that they're having. Attended a meeting with Mayor Rouse, Jim Armstrong, and the West Side Neighborhood Clinics to go over the new construction of the clinic that's going to happen sometime next year. So that's exciting. Attended the grand opening of the Cortana Point apartment complex out in Goleta. There's a lot of elected officials, a lot of stakeholders from our Tri-City area there to see the opening of this new housing project that looked great, and it's good to be able to have housing in our area. Also attended a Christmas party at SB Cast, which was really fun. Also attended on Friday the community design workshop on State Street. A lot of great ideas were being thrown around and taken into consideration, which was nice. Then on Saturday, attended the Milpas Holiday Parade and with Alejandra Gutierrez and Eric Friedman and the mayor. All the other fair weather council members were not in attendance. Just kidding. That attended the Parade of Lights at the harbor. That was great. I want to thank the harbor crew for putting that together. It was really fun, and hopefully next year we'll have more participants. And then attended the downtown Santa Barbara business mixer last night, and the neighborhood advisory council meeting was canceled, unfortunately, but we'll see each other again next year. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Friedman.
Thank you. I also attended the Cortona Point apartment grand opening, one of the State Street design workshops, also the Santa Barbara Beautiful Holiday Party, the Milpas Holiday Parade. Glad I'm not one of those fair weather council members. The Dem Women event honoring Sue Salcido and Susan Rose. And then I did have the opportunity, I was down in Santa Monica and I walked the 3rd Street Promenade just to look at it, comparing it to up here. So very informative considering where we are at in our design for State Street.
Okey doke. Well, if there are no further reports, that's going to do it for 2022. Well done. We are going to be coming back. What's the date, Ms. Bjork? Sometime in January.
Mayor Rouse, we will be back on Tuesday, January 10th with a 2 o'clock hearing.
Okay, very good. Everybody have a happy holiday and see ya.